Hello, Nigeria. Thanks for joining us once again on the program Nigeria Pride on the network service of Radio Nigeria this beautiful Tuesday afternoon. Nigeria Pride is a program that celebrates Nigerians in the diaspora, making us proud, having that can-do spirit. People who go to the diaspora and don't get involved in the things that give us bad names, causing xenophobia attacks in some places, and so on. Certainly, Nigerians are good people. And on this program, we'll tell the story of Nigerians who are doing great things in the diaspora. It's one package on one country, in one song, in one voice. I'm your one radio ambassador. My name is Tope Ojemen. Glad to have you here.
We are Nigeria.
Nigeria starts from our homes, our neighborhoods. What we say and do, good or bad, is what will be referred to as the character of Nigerians. Integrity and moral uprightness are virtues we must imbibe as a lifestyle, doing what is right at all times, no matter the cost. We are the ones to make a better Nigeria.
We are Nigeria.
You are the I in Nigeria. Be a good Nigerian.
Nigerian Pride. The best of Nigeria in the diaspora.
Stay Niger to the more.
So let me unveil my guest today on the program. She's a lady. She studied medicine and decided to go abroad to study more in her medical field. Dr. Loretta Ogboro, obstetric gynecologist, is here with us on Nigeria Pride all the way from the UK. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much, Tope. It's nice to be here.
You left Nigeria for the diaspora.
Yeah. My story is interesting because I knew in a very, very early age in life that I had a lot to give the world. And when you have a lot to give, you want to optimize what you give. Capacity building, that's what I call it. So I left in quest for capacity building. So I left to do a master's in public health research, not just public health research at the University of Edinburgh, in Scotland specifically. But when I got into medical school, by the time I read neuroanatomy, and under the influence of my very great mentor, Professor Friday Okonofor, I decided that I would be a gynecologist.
When you got to the UK, did you experience some culture shock like most people do?
In fact, Tope, if I had a return ticket at the airport, I would have come right back.
Immediately.
But I had a one-way ticket. I arrived England via Gatwick and then went straight to Scotland. You see, when I got there, it was dark. It was school year. I got in around October. It was dark. It was cold. It was raining. And obviously in Scotland, the main language, some people may not know, they speak Gaelic. So their English is a bit different. And I was wondering, what are these people saying? Coming from Nigeria, we speak at high decibel. So when I got into England, I was wondering, am I going deaf? Because everybody talks. And I've had to reorientate. The cultural shock was such, it was so much. People actually believe in proper communication. They won't pass through a door and not hold it for you. You know, these subtle things that as a Nigerian we don't pay attention to. But I think I was fortunate because my father groomed me before. He told me two things in his lifetime. He said, Loretta, be proud of who you are wherever you are. Learn to eat with paupers and to dine with kings. And if you ever find yourself in the land of the white man, when talking to them, please look them in the eye. They are no better than you, my daughter. And if you don't look a white man in the eye, he thinks you're hiding something. Whereas culturally in Nigeria, we're all autistic.
Yeah, respect.
We all look away because of respect.
Yeah.
And when you get there, you are talking to people and they are looking you in the eye and they're talking at low decibels. It's all a huge cultural shock. But what has happened to me over time is cultural integration. I will not give away my Nigerianness. I'm proudly and unapologetically Nigerian.
That's great to
But
know.
I've managed to integrate and I've managed to accept the very good things in the culture of the people I have gone to visit. And I praise them for the good things they have, but I won't pick some of the bad things.
All right, now let's talk about the good things you've done. I mean, working as an obstetric gynecologist endocrinologist would involve a lot. And in a place like the UK, where healthcare is big deal, what was it like for you? Sometimes treating black, sometimes treating white people, and sometimes having so many people to talk to. Tell us the experience.
I think getting there initially, I was angry. I was angry because I realized that what makes the developed economies work is not rocket science, especially in the healthcare sector. Simple things like pulse, temperature, and blood pressure. The nurses or the midwives would look at it and would interpret it in the context of that patient there, and then they will escalate and they will call you. You just see that these basic things, I've not gone to the equipment yet, these basic things saves time and saves lives. The way they even talk to the patients, the ambience and the countenance. And I always say that human beings worldwide, we are all the same. We are not different. What makes the difference is the environmental manipulation. That's a word my psychiatry lecturer told me many years ago, but that's true. The people there do these things because there are pathways that are set that you should do this, and if you don't do this, if this goes wrong, you will have to answer for it. So people are held accountable.
And yet we hear that most of the doctors there are Nigerians.
Nigerians constitute a large proportion of the NHS. I will speak for the NHS. America is the same thing as well. I happen to be a member of the MANSAG, medical practitioners across Great Britain in England. And we have over 7,000 Nigerians.
7,000?
Doctors. You're not talking of the nurses, you're not talking of the pharmacists, you're not talking of all other practitioners in the health force. So you find that the difference is just paying attention to little things. And like I was saying, people are held accountable. And how are people held accountable? People are held accountable by the people themselves. So the patients have been empowered. The populace is empowered. They come in and they question you. They say, oh, doctor, you are giving me this. Why are you giving me this? And some of these things are alien to our Nigerian practice. When I trained in Nigeria, a doctor was meant to know everything. So you found out that even if when you didn't know, you blagged your way. I'll use that word in quote. You blagged your way through. And what does that create? That creates an environment of lack of safety because you are doing things on half a leg. But when I got to the United Kingdom, I realized that I don't know was an answer. I realized that I could tell my patient, hold on, I need to go and ask my senior.
Did you experience some racist issues? The people look at you and say, you're a black person, you're not going to treat me.
Racism is real. Let me tell you, there was a time I was in England and I had to discuss racism in the NHS, black and ethnic minorities and what they suffer. Now, on the part of the healthcare providers, racism is real. On the part of being a patient, racism is real. I will start from the part of being a patient. I'm coming to my own experiences. Do you know that you are 1 in 4 times more likely to have an adverse effect happen to you in pregnancy if you are a black and ethnic minority woman? And this is a figure I'm quoting from Embrace. This is not just off my head. This is research that has been done. And why is this so? It is so because if a Chinese man was to come to you now, Tope, and he doesn't speak your language, but he's a professor in China, he is educated in his language, but there's a language barrier. Automatically, because he's in the minority and you are in the majority speaking English language, it begins to appear that that man is not educated, whereas he's very educated in his own language. So the moment there's a language barrier, the provider begins to have stereotypes, and the user also has a user barrier. So you find that culturally, when women from Nigeria, I'll use Nigeria as a case study, I can speak for this. When they arrive here, we don't have scans in screening. People don't register early in pregnancy. So sometimes they are pregnant and they're like, when I reach 20 weeks, I'll go and register. Some of them don't have proper documentation, so they hide. Whereas if you go and you register on time as soon as you get pregnant, there's a 12-week scan, there's a 20-week scan. All of these are for a particular reason. Yes, for a particular reason. So you see that the user barrier as a black and ethnic minority comes in as well. And then when you get to the service point, a person who doesn't understand your accent would not be as patient with you as one who does. You won't feel comfortable either. And mark you the cultural differences. I've been consulting before, and my assistants in the room say, oh, that woman, there was a mark on her leg, and when you asked her about it, she looked away. She didn't answer you properly. She didn't look in your eyes. We think she's been beaten by her husband or her mother-in-law. And I tell them, no, she respects authority. But that's because I understand. If I didn't, I would flag off a whole lot of protocols and guidelines, and they'll start investigating that woman. Now, on my side as a practitioner, as a human being getting into the United Kingdom, when I got to Scotland, I went to the University of Edinburgh, like I said before. Being a student, I felt it was an El Dorado. Everybody was nice to me. It was good.
Did you stand out as a
Yes,
Nigerian
I stood
student?
out as a Nigerian student, especially then in Scotland. There were few black people. But I gave them a run for their money. Nigerians are intelligent people. So once you adapt to the use of the computers, which you didn't quite use in your country, and you adapt to the language and the disability at which they speak, the rest is history, because we just fly. However, when I left the four walls of the University of Edinburgh and then got into the healthcare provision space.
How long did it take for you to get a job?
I'm coming to that. I got a job after my master's quite easily as a healthcare assistant, not as a doctor.
Okay.
So I did menial jobs, and I'm telling our youths out there, when you do things at certain times in your life that you think is beneath you, it takes nothing away from you. In fact, it buttresses your experiences and it makes you a better person. I'll tell you why today. All these experiences have made me better. So, but when I came into the healthcare space, as I said before, I deviated. I found that there was a lot of hostility. The people in Britain erroneously thought I was taking a space that belonged to them. The racism became more apparent than in the institution. And I also think because in the institution you're paying thousands of pounds to get trained, there's this kind of respect as well. But immediately I got into the hospital, there was what I call the institutionalized freezing out. Tope, nobody, I mean absolutely nobody would talk to me on the ward round, and I'm expected to learn. I started at the very junior cadre all over again. I am not allowed to enter a woman's laboring room, yet I'm expected to know what all my obstetrics and gynecology was in the United Kingdom. Yet I'm expected to know and learn and produce answers to questions I will be asked later. And there were times moving on when even a white person would say, oh, I don't want that black doctor to touch me. In certain hospitals, especially in Scotland, they would fetch you another white doctor if you made that request. So how did I surmount these challenges?
All right, we're going to take a break here. Loretta had challenges. How did she surmount those challenges? You get to know if you stay with us.
Nigeria, no doubt, is a country saturated with great minds. No one waiting to be spoon-fed. They're helping create a better world. At home or abroad, the spirit is the same. Our people step up to the challenge, making good in all circumstances, making their family, friends and country proud.
Nigeria, good people, great nation.
Nigerian pride. The best of Nigeria in the diaspora.
This is Nigeria Pride. Thank you for joining us on the program. My name is Tope Ojemen. With me on Nigeria Pride today, a lady who is an obstetric gynecologist in the UK, Nigerian medical professional in the diaspora, Dr. Loretta Ogboro. Thank you very much once again for joining us.
Thank you, Tope.
On the first part, you're telling us a very interesting story, really, of how you had to scale through the challenge of racism, the challenges of having to learn despite a situation that wasn't that good, how you did well as a student. You gave them a run for their money, as you said, but you had to face some difficulty. How did you surmount those difficulties?
I don't call it racism these days. I call it racial challenge. The reason is because it can be either way. People think racism is just white on black. It can be black on white as well.
Oh, so black on white.
Yes. So I decided to coin it and change it to racial challenge. So the key is to work doubly as hard. If you know that you are going to be scrutinized properly, you need to dot all your I's and cross all your T's. So you have to come prepared. There was a time in one of the hospitals I worked, one of the consultants told me she never saw me becoming an obstetrician and gynecologist. And then before she said that, there was a big meeting of everybody in the hospital. And I used to just keep quiet because sometimes you don't want to talk too much. Or sometimes as Nigerians, you get there and everybody's talking because there's a lot of communication there. And you go back into that your Nigerian self and just keep quiet. But that doesn't mean you don't know anything. So this woman just from the blues in the middle of the meeting, she said, Loretta, next week you are going to be presenting. And she just threw the topic at me. Now, she wouldn't do that to a white person as well because they will say, oh, she's just giving them a mental health episode. They were depressed. But when she threw it at me, I knew I couldn't plead mental health issues because my ancestors in Nigeria would not forgive me. My father would say, Loretta, take on that challenge. And besides, I'm very mentally stable to the grace of God. It doesn't mean...
And your husband is a neurosurgeon, by the way. So,
I don't think he can
tell.
keep me. But what I'm saying, I'm not trying to say any one of us is not prone to mental health issues. But what I was saying is that I took on that challenge. And I said, thank you very much. So what did I do? I went and I researched that topic from beginning to end, from left to right. And this woman just saw me in that hospital. She didn't know I had a master's in public health research. She didn't know any of those things about me. And I wasn't interested in tooting my horn. So on the day of that presentation, Tope, first and foremost, I came dressed up. I decked as Nigerians. See, now I'm a big girl. Hey, no shaking
at all.
And then I had my power slides prepared, standard. And when I started talking, everybody in the department put down their pen. First of all, they said, oh, you sit down to present. We all sit down to present here. I said, no. And that's another thing. When you go out, people try to redefine you. They try to put you in a box. Be unapologetically yourself.
Think outside the box.
Think outside the box.
Someone tells me it's a Nigerian spirit to think outside the box.
I knew that they all sit down to present in that department. But I knew that my strength was in being Nigerian. I had to throw my hands. I had to be me. So I told them I will stand up and do my presentation. And I had mastered my presentation. I wasn't reading my slides. Long and short, by the time I finished, the woman was ashamed. And one of my professors, who till date is my lifelong referee, walked up to me and said, Loretta, you know what? Those people in there think you are their mates. And this is a white person. And he said to me, you are not their mates. So there are still these pockets of people anywhere in the world who would appreciate excellence where they see it. So one way to surmount that looming challenge of racial challenge, I'm using this word again, I may be tautology, is for you to work doubly, twice as hard. Now imagine if I wasn't prepared, Tope.
I would have been.
They would say, oh, we are not surprised.
Yeah, she's African, she's Nigerian.
Her brain is pink. Then the story will go. So you see, you need to work doubly as hard. And secondly, there's a parable where I come from. I'll speak Benin now. They say, you are not supposed to be bothered about how you take on a challenge or kill your enemy. You just want your enemy or that challenge gone. You know, I see a lot of pride in our people sometimes. You haven't crawled, you want to run. I see youths today carrying a phone that costs about 100 and something thousand. I wasn't raised that way. I was raised to take life as it comes, but don't get me wrong, I wasn't raised not to have ambitions. I was raised to aim for the sun, and then I'll land among the stars or something. So really keep your aspirations high. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't understand that you have to take life one step at a time. So one way of surmounting those challenges was also being content as at where I was at that time, doing those menial jobs, but knowing that I was going to get to the zenith wherever I
And you
wanted.
did. You got there, right?
I did. There were times I failed exams. Yes. For those who are listening, I wrote one of my exams, the MRCOG 1, part 1. I think I wrote it about 7 times. And that happened not because I'm not necessarily an intelligent person, but the stresses of being in a new country. You don't have help with childcare. You commute to different workplaces. It's daunting. A husband who is doing a super specialty, you're the only person at home. But the key thing is that it is only you who can say that you are a failure. No other person has the right to write that script but you.
And that's where I'm going to ask you this very important question, Loretta. If I take you on a trip to the UK embassy right now, to the American embassy, to the Canadian embassy, you find a lot of people, young people, and most of them want to go abroad for no other reason. They have a feeling the land is paved with gold, milk, and honey. They have
It's
a
not.
feeling, look, some of them tell me, Tope, look, I just want to leave Nigeria. I have a feeling once I get to the UK or to the US, pam! I've made it.
It's not.
The worst off, you're a lady, so I'm going to mention this. Worst off is you find some young, beautiful girls. They leave the country, they're intelligent. They choose to go abroad to do other businesses, including selling their bodies.
Tell
and
me
all
about
that.
it. I'm Benin.
And this is really sad.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to ask you to speak to young people who feel that the only way up is to go out of the country.
Tope, if people have a proper opportunity to leave the country, they don't need to leave as illegal migrants. I think they should. The reason is because traveling is a part of education.
That's right.
You need to open your horizon. However, if you are living, even though you are living legally, and you think that there are gold, silver, diamond on the streets of Canada, America, Italy, you've gotten it wrong. You live with that mindset that I am prepared to slug it out. I am prepared to give my best. I am not going to dabble into illegal things. And I want to make Nigeria proud. If you live with that mindset, you will succeed. You because you are prepared for the challenge. The cold in itself can kill. I often tell people, if you transpose that cold to Nigeria and Africa, we'll start reasoning well. And we will think about value for human life. Give me heat any day, I'm fine, but cold, it can just kill me. So our young ones out there, and I'm passionate about the girls. I wrote a book called My Father's Daughter, and in that book I said, you must have self-confidence, especially as a girl child, because whether we like it or not, anywhere in the world, a girl child is disadvantaged. Even in the advanced and developing world, they are trying to bridge that gap. But a girl child still has certain salient disadvantages.
But you stood out, despite the disadvantage.
Yes, because I was raised by a man who taught me to believe in myself. He raised me up to know that I am fearfully and wonderfully made. There is no two of me in this world. He taught me that I was first me. So it's not a question of who is my brother, who is my father. It is because I've been raised to know that I can be anything, and that is how we should raise our girls. And you don't have to be educated to be anything. You can be the best seamstress that you can be. You can be the best street sweeper that you can be. Whatever you are, you have to make something of yourself, because Tope, that is the only thing you are going to negotiate the world with. Whatever you are. Even when you get married as a woman, you are going to negotiate with that man with what you bring to the table.
That's right.
And for men as well, young boys, my women, my fellow mothers, how are we raising our sons? How are we raising that other woman's husband tomorrow? Are you raising them to be lords? Are you raising them to be empathetic and compassionate? Are you raising your sons to realize that if there is a challenge, they should find how to go about that challenge and not go and start doing Yahoo? Are you raising them to be patriots of first their families and then their countries?
All right, as we get set to go, Dr. Loretta, I'm going to ask you a very Simple, but probably complex question. Now, if you were to come in another world, would you still want to be a Nigerian?
Oh, yes.
If you had the opportunity to change your passport right now, because sometimes you go, once you flag the green passport, the first thought is, she must be a criminal. Would you want to change your passport?
I will not change my passport.
So you're Nigerian through and through?
I am Nigerian through and through.
And I'm so glad to hear
and I'm
that.
unapologetic
Now, a question
about
I
that.
always ask just when we're rounding off this program. You already answered it somewhere in between, but I'll just be sure. You were because people travel, they leave the shores of Nigeria, and the next thing you hear them do is they are speaking sweet.
I know they talk like that too.
Wanna.
No.
And they throw everything about their culture, including their language, away.
I know if it talk
But you
like
still
that.
speak your language.
Yes,
You're a proper
so-
Benin girl, right? You're from Edo State. Okay. So let me give you a
Unapologetic
little
about that.
thesis, and I hope you won't fail this
I
one.
won't fail
How would
it.
you say in your language, I love Nigeria with all my heart?
Iwe evume the iye gbeme hia iye khoeme hia ya weme evume exactly iye khoeme hia iye gbeme hia ya weme evume
You know,
evume
I'm
Nigeria.
thinking that if I had given you this question when you were in Nigeria, you would have done it like. But
I had to think about
because you
it.
had to think about it. Okay.
I do agree. I had to think about
Okay. Now let's quickly also talk about the fact that you already mentioned you're married and
Yes.
you're raising kids too.
Yeah.
And sometimes when people like you raise kids, they're abroad, they don't come back to Nigeria, know nothing about their home, don't even speak their language. I hope you're not raising your kids to forget home.
Tope. You see, they've often called myself and the man I married a perpetual non-conformist. And I think we actually are. Our daughter went to boarding house in Nigeria.
Great.
Even when we were living in England. She used to travel by herself and go to school and on holidays come back to England. And even when it was time to come back to England, don't be deceived. I have a 16-year-old. I just look like this, you know. The Benin jeans. Even when she was supposed to come, she said, "Mommy, I don't want to come back. I want to finish. I want to go to school in Nigeria." And when we asked her why, she said, "Because England is boring. Nigeria is interesting."
Great, and I'm happy to hear that. Let me thank you very much, Loretta Ogboro.
Thank
Doctor,
you.
I
don't like being called a doctor when I'm not
But
work.
this is Nigeria. We like to call you doctor because it makes us proud that we raised a Benin girl to become a doctor. Our people back home in Benin and in Delta, where your husband is from, they'll be happy. They'll say, "Now my daughter be that."
There are many high-flying Benin women.
High-flying,
Worldwide, yes, worldwide.
All right. So let me say we're proud of you, Dr. Loretta Ogboro. Keep on the
proud
good
of
job
you
you're
too.
doing. And please keep making us proud. And when you come across our girls, please talk to them.
I do.
Because some of the stories we
I
hear
mentor a lot
are
of
very,
women.
very bad. And we wish you the very best.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Tope.
Nigerian pride. The best of Nigeria in the diaspora.
Stay Niger to the more.
That's it on Nigeria Pride today. My guest, Dr. Loretta Ogboro, obstetric gynecologist in the UK, Nigerian medical professional in the diaspora. She is doing great in the diaspora. Against all odds, she showed that woman who said, "You won't go far." She showed her, "I won't just go far, I'll get to the stars," and she got there. We're so proud of her and so many who are doing well. So here's a message to those who want to go abroad and do the wrong things. Please don't, because you don't make us proud. At the end of the day, you destroy yourself. I am your one radio ambassador. They call me Tope Ojemen. Till next week, think Nigeria, feel Nigeria, and talk Nigeria. That's Nigeria Pride. I'm bringing you a guest next week who is a neurosurgeon who's done extremely well in the diaspora. Till then, bye for now.
Stay Niger to the more.